Hello, I'm Chris Athenis. I'm a KMP developer and tech support. Yeah, they're coming out for that some date. I'm not going to say Tuesday anymore. Well, maybe I will. I guess I'm going to call him, man. All right, so I'm going to do this reaction to Internet Bugs, my favorite guy, because we're almost the same age. He's been in the industry a little longer. He stuck it out when I was like, I sold my business and took a break for a little while. And he stuck it out the whole time. And so so we're on the same wavelength. We've seen a lot of the waves of bullshit come through constantly, and they're in the waves of hype. All these problems are going to be solved magically, but we somehow today we still have all the same problems. Same problems. Okay, let's go.
If you're a software developer, you know that things are kind of tenuous for us right now. The prevailing wisdom seems to be that software development as a career is going extinct, although I think that's largely based on a misunderstanding, and I'll get more into that later. So as I write this, the OpenAI's O3 model was just announced, although we can't look at it yet. And as always, there have been a ton of claims made about how much better it is at programming than tasks than any model before. I'm skeptical that it's really going to turn out to be that much better, but we should find out sometime in the next few months. 2025 looks like it's going to be a wild year for us. But no matter how good O3 might be, there are things that experts believe that this generation of AIs just cannot be capable of, both in general and with respect to software development in particular. Yeah. Today, I want to talk about what developers can learn to do that these AIs can't, and why, and how you can go about learning it. So to get this out of the way, the limitations I'm talking about are based largely on the work of Simon Prince, the author of this book, Understanding Deep Learning.
Interesting.
Link below. He did an interview that I've recommended before on the Machine Learning Street podcast.
It really has no way to learn anything new other than its context vector, which it forgets every session. And it has
This is super obvious. Like, it just forgets. It can't learn. Look, man, the Eliza effect is strong with these chatbots. And if you know what I'm talking about, you can go look that up. But it's a real thing. It's a psychological thing. It's our anthropomorphizing urge that there's been chess playing robots that were kayfabing the whole time. So we have this. We want to have these machines to think that we have the same that our style of cognitive abilities, the way we think about the world, is the way the world is, when it's actually not. It's the way we see the world, and for our particular configuration of biology and how we and our social dynamics and all of our history and all the stuff that came through together has a particular style. It's just a style of thought, a way of thought. Some things have given us amazing results, and other things have given us some really horrific results. But we assume this is the way that the world, the universe, put together. So it's just the way we are. So when we see something modeled for us, we imbue it with all kinds of things that aren't there. And there are plenty of snake oil salesmen. I know it's hard to admit that most of the computer industry is a sales-driven stuff. So there's big companies, billions and billions of dollars at stake if they don't make their quarterly sales. So they can hype everything. There's no rule against you can say whatever you want in America. I know it's a shocker. We people can say whatever they want, and quietly later on they'll deal with a lawsuit later for a class action lawsuit that just pays off some lawyers. Doesn't even fix the same problem. So we've had this constantly going on in America. And it's funny that people don't point it out enough. It's like, there's a lot of bullshit being flown out because I think it was, again, sales driven, right? So a lot of these people want that sweet ad money, right? So they're not going to tell you all the stuff that may upset an advertiser. I'm trying to make a living here.
Has no way to even remember that. So we're missing all kinds of parts of the puzzle. I don't see how you could look at that and think, oh, superintelligence is around the corner.
Although really the whole...
So if what they were saying was actually true, we would already have it. And they would be publicly disclosing it. Lots of access. Anybody that wants it, here it is. Here's a trial, a 1 month trial where you can use this thing for free, because we know that once you use this thing, you're gonna buy it automatically. There's no way around it. So if they really did have these things, we wouldn't even be discussing them, because they would already be here and we'd be using them for what they're supposedly is amazing for, superintelligence. Though if they had all this stuff, look, they wouldn't even be telling you. Also, it would be more like they're not going to tell you they have this stuff and just use it to completely decimate all your infrastructure, all your security measures, all the exploits will be exploited, all the Bitcoin will be stolen. Come on.
Interview is worth watching. And the book has been instrumental in informing my understanding of our current circumstances, although it's an $80 500-page textbook with lots of math and a 49-page bibliography. So I wouldn't necessarily describe it as approachable or recommend it for everyone.
I'm sure it's possible to find it for free on a PDF somewhere. $800. Come on.
In the unlikely
Somebody wants to hide that information from you.
event that he's wrong and that I'm wrong, and that OpenAI's O3 model is actually super intelligent, then this channel's garbage.
So the definitions just be so people be clear about this AI, super intelligence stuff, whatever. They said, well, as soon as we spend $100 billion, this is what you can look this up. It was Sam Altman's like, as soon as we get $100 billion, that will be super intelligence. I mean, no, it's not like capabilities. It's not like demonstrating how you can. This AI will go through your code base and find all the exploits that aren't there, or go through the Linux kernel and say, "Hey, there's an exploit here you didn't mention." There's the sequence of some weird sequence like that, like what they use to take down the nuclear refinement grid. Was it Stuxnet or something? All the cascading of little things. I have an AI do that kind of stuff. Maybe an AI did do that stuff. Do you think state level actors are gonna let people have access to this shit? Come on. I don't know how to explain this much. It's like, quit fanboying, thinking this is we're entering a sci-fi age. We may have, but they're not going to let us have access to that stuff. At least not now. Maybe 30 years or 20 years from now. But even then, I mean, if they actually had access to all the stuff that they said they have, we'd be living in some Jetsons universe, because that's Jetsons society, because all of our needs would be met. There'd be no need to bring in people picking because we'd have the robots design themselves to pick the stuff where we don't have to be involved. They're solar powered or whatever, hydrogen powered, so it's completely sustainable, blah, blah. Within weeks, if this stuff was actually anywhere near what they're calling it to be, we would have that stuff within weeks. It would already be here. The moment they announced it, the machines would be running overtime. They switch over all the software, this new algorithm, new platform that's actually real intelligence, and it would like all of a sudden robots would be flying out all over the place, doing all kinds of stuff. Come on.
YouTube will soon be replaced by the Matrix. No job is safe, human life is irrelevant, and all we can do is bow our heads and pray to Rocco's basilisk that it might not torture us for all eternity. More info on the basilisk below.
Rocco's basilisk is some sort of cyber, so it's just a silly philosophical thing. It's not actually real. But we're never going to approach these things, because the thing is, humans are going to buck that stuff, man. If it actually took over our society like that, where come on, we're not going to allow that to happen. Come on, I know we want it so bad. It's like, oh, we don't have to go to work anymore. It's like, okay, there's a anti-work thing. I don't know where people get this from. Like, they can just be in Lambos and drink and fuck hoes and be in Lambos and bottle service. That's the life. Look, man, here's the thing. Serving your fellow man, giving him solutions that make his life better in some way, and he gives you money for that, is honorable. It's honorable. And the fact that we want to try and get around this stuff and try and get away from it and try and not serve our fellow man is soul crushing and culture destroying. And so if you really, or if that's the dream you want to have, is to be living on the beach, sipping margaritas and running on jet skis, and that's all you want to do all day, I mean, that's just kid stuff. It gets super boring after a while. I mean, go do it if you really want to. I guess that's what it is. But the thing is, is that a society of people just doing that all day? Like, is that, if everyone were to do that, I mean, is that really? We would just be running jet skis and drinking, messing with hoes, and that's society. That's the ultimate.
You might not want to hear about it. What could possibly go wrong?
Best startup.
This is the Internet of Bugs. My name is Carl, and I've been a software professional for more than 35 years now. I believe that the internet has way, way too many bugs already, and that AI is in the process of making it much, much worse. And I'm trying to reduce that as much as I can.
Yeah.
So today's AIs have limitations.
We can just make fun of it too, because there's no stopping any of this stuff. It's just going to happen no matter what I say on my channel or he says on his channel. But it's like, if you're stumbling across my stuff and you're listening this far, it's like, be very skeptical of all this shit. It's like, be very skeptical of all of it. Like, as if, like, okay, let's keep going.
Today, I'm just discussing the serious constraints they have when it comes to actually writing code. So 1, they can only learn the kinds of things that are in their training data.
Yeah.
2, they are frozen in time. They can sort through an enormous amount of information in a short order, but they effectively have no ability to form long-term memories without expensive retraining. Yeah. If you've seen the movie Memento, they're basically that guy. They can read a previous conversation as part of a prompt at the beginning of a new question, but that's as close as they can get to improving. How much would you want the Memento guy working on a software that you depend on? 3, they are severely limited in the amount and breadth of...
It's the movie. I guess it's the easiest way to describe it, but it is really strange. It's very odd. And they think that this is going to be, this is going to be an epoch of a new way of working in the world. It's like, come on now. They always say that all the time. And that's when you know it's bullshit, because if it was actually the thing that they said it was, it would already be here by now, and it would already be all the things they would say it is, and wouldn't have to even advertise it because people would be running to their doors so much because they got all the solutions. They would just say, here it is. Take it or leave it. This is what you get. Now, we're going to do amazing. It's going to be just $100 more million, just 68 more nuclear power plants, and 75 data centers, and then we'll have AI. We'll have the superintelligence then. You know, come on, like connect it together. But they said we'd be super intelligent. They said the AI was going to solve all the problems.
Context that they can work with. There's a lot of work being done to try to increase this.
People just fall for this bullshit too easily. And they got too much like, how do we get profit? Where do we get upside? Well, we can sell the shit out of the stock market and print fake money. And people do stock buybacks and just make the stock price go up. No technology, no demonstration of any of their claims. They come out with Coke bottle glasses. I'm the best programmer on the planet. I'm going to make a programmer that does all the programming. Like, really? Let's see your results. Oh, look at here. It passes all the tests. Like, really? Did it pass all the tests? Is that what it did?
There are a number of significant hurdles, including what's called the loss in the middle problem. More on that below. But even if all the latest mitigation work were to magically succeed, it's nowhere near the amount of context that you or I are capable of understanding as humans.
Yeah,
so the things
context for humans is massive. It's our entire world. And part off of it too, for all I know. And you think you put it on could we put a terabyte? We can put a couple 16 terabytes and put all the data in there. Yeah, that's all it. All the factors are all in there. So we'll get this thing wrapped up by Christmas.
AIs can't learn are the things that require a lot of context and that don't appear in documents straight from books around the internet. In other words, the things that can't be learned from classes and books, but only can be learned from experience. Right. The good news is you can learn such things.
Actually be a human in the world. Yeah. And you're talking to other humans who are actually in the world. Yeah. That aren't documenting everything about their lives and putting it on the internet for free to be scraped by some AI company. As if that's reality. Oh, we got 1 terabyte of context.
The bad news is it's not really a quick process. But from where I sit, software developers have 2 choices. Either leaning to learning the things that this generation of AIs can't get good at, or watch as the AIs chip away at your job's tasks until there's nothing left for you to do.
Yeah, if you're just doing straight coding, you're in trouble, man. Yeah. So if you're just like, I learned to do React. I went to a project manager school and I learned React. No, I want my React job back. Yeah, that's gone, man. That's gone. Now, what you're building with React for the humans involved, like translating that so you can have the AI write the React for you or close to it, then you still understand how React works, and you can be the interface between some actual customer that has an actual need that you're fulfilling somehow for profitable ability to do it. Now you're talking. Then you still have a job. But I learned React in a boot camp. I was making $120,000 a year, and I just React boot camp. Like,
3 choices if you can't.
Did you really think that was going to last? Did you really think that skill was going to make it all the way? Stop.
The basilisk, but I don't. Here's the thing about software bugs. With rare exceptions caused by short-term thinking, usually for cost-cutting measures by some MBA or something, most non-trivial bugs on the internet aren't intentional, and the vast majority of them aren't even found until after they've been released. Those bugs aren't found by the programmers. They're found by people using the software, often in ways and in contexts that weren't considered while the code was being written in the first place. This is the crux of the matter. The AIs can only ever generate software in the context that they've been given in their prompt, but you can learn to expand your context with experience. You can look at a situation and recognize the kind of things that could cause problems in the future. And unlike the AI,
that's the human skill. Yeah, that's where you get. That's where humans get involved. That's our sweet spot. That's for looking at things when the customer asks you for a certain thing. You're like, well, I guess that's one way to do it, but could we do this over here this way? And it would save all this time and energy. And the other guy goes, yeah, probably. Or, no, that's stupid. The AI isn't going to do that. So like, yes, sir. We're going to code off that thing. We're going to code it all. It's like, and you really think that the results are going to be what you want, and you're going to be able to work through that with the AI. I'm going to prompt it a little bit better. Can you make that button on the 6th screen green? Yes, I can. Can you make it so this procedure works more efficiently? It's like, what do you mean?
AI, you can find out what your blind spots are, and you can learn to compensate for them over time. With practice and the right mindset, you can develop an intuition for what can go wrong and how to avoid it. You'll never be perfect, but you can get better and better. And it doesn't take that much work to be a lot.
Yes, that's called being a human being. You're going through the world. You're trying stuff out. You're figuring stuff out. You're trying to think about how the best way to approach things are. You might be wrong, and then you have to change it. Then you have to change it. Oh, you mean it's not permanent? You mean the software we're writing isn't permanent? No! I guess there's so many people like, once I finish this project, it'll be complete and done. It's like, no, dude. Look, software projects are never completed. Ever. They are just abandoned.
A lot better than the AI at this kind of thing. Now, this isn't the kind of thing that anyone can comprehensively write about, as there are way too many variables, which means it'll never show up in a training set for an AI. The best that we can do is speak about it in the abstract and talk about it by example. So here's an example. 10 years or so ago, I did some time working in Amazon.com's logistics division. Among other things, I wrote the storage layer, the network layer, the state machine, the integration test suite, the core logic for the system that the delivery drivers use to drop packages off on your porch. So early on in the project, I identified we had a potential problem. We were required to exchange time information over the network using epoch time, the number of seconds in some arbitrary date. This is the way most Unix systems handle time internally. But it's a really, really bad idea to use that on the network. In fact, a group of smart people realized that it was such a problem. They created a standard way of handling dates over the network that avoids these issues back in 1988 when I was graduating from high school. That standard is called ISO 8601. So I proposed that we used ISO 8601, and I was told that we at Amazon had to stick with the corporate standard. My intuition, based on the 25-ish years of experience I had at the time, told me that we would have problems, although I couldn't guess exactly what they would be. So I put in some extra code and tests to handle the couple of issues I could think of. And then I just crossed my fingers, because what else was I going to do? And sure enough, we had problems.
Yeah, what else can you do? You didn't have no AI back then to tell us, oh, that might be a problem. They don't tell you that today. The thing about the current generation of AIs is they don't say no. They will just go with it. They're not like, hey, have you considered? Did you think about it over here? I mean, look, it's like, no, yes, sir. We'll get right to it, sir. Yes, sir.
First ones were related to drivers who were scheduling their shifts for future dates. The bugs usually appeared when someone was signing up for a shift while they were either on vacation or right before a daylight savings time change. In the event that the time zone that the driver was in when they scheduled their shift was different than the time zone they would be in when they showed up for work, their schedule would be off. When I left the project, that was still a problem. Hopefully they managed to get fixed by now.
You're right. Look, if you're going to clock out before the date change, you might want to just clock in early. Don't worry about the software that we have an ISO standard for the 1986 that this guy brought up 22 years ago that we can fix it. No. Forget about that. And the AI might be like, never heard of it. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Yeah, this guy brought it up. Yeah, I don't know. 86, I've never heard of that.
My intuition at the time was good, but it wasn't good enough. If I thought of the context of shift scheduling while in a different time zone, I could have either tried to compensate or use that as a further argument that we needed to use the ISO 8601 days. Probably still would have lost that argument, but that's another story. But that's the kind of thing that AIs can't do. They can't recognize when they need to change their context. They can't imagine how user situations might be different from what they expect. And they can't.
No idea. They have no clue. That's where you come in. That's your job. That's what we hired you for.
Can't recognize that a bug now is the consequence of the thought processes involved in a decision that was made months ago and use that to improve themselves in their decision-making process.
Never heard of it.
In fact, even if the AIs get as good as real humans, as unlikely as I think that is, the AIs probably still won't be able to do that because the vast majority of human programmers I work with can't do it either, including the folks at Amazon that refuse to change the corporate standard because they thought it would be good.
Yeah. Oh, you think the AI is going to get you to get through the corporate standards and board? Oh, by the way, the AI came up with this thing and said you should do it this way. It's like, what is the AI? We have corporate standards here, sir.
Enough. I discussed this some in my starting a side project video. You can go here for more information. But the thing that most programmers are missing, and the thing that you can't get in school, is the experience of putting your code out in the wild, seeing what goes wrong, understanding what you could have done if you'd thought of it to avoid the problems, and applying that new knowledge in the future. Like I said in that video.
It's the only way to get through this. I know it's like, oh, but can we go faster? Somehow can we cut the user out of the thing? Can we cut? You know what? This would be a great business if we can just cut the customers out. If we can just get rid of those pesky customers, just ship code, this business would be great. But those damn customers, they always have demands. They always want something. They always want something different than what we got.
Most developers only ever work as part of teams, and they only care about the development side, not the operation side. They don't have to deal with the consequences of their decisions. They don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning when something breaks. They don't care to learn. A ton of managers are like this.
They were told to write the code, not support the code, not respond to changes or make it modifiable or easy to read or understand. They were just told to fucking write the code. So what do you expect them to do? Write the code, pass the test. What? That's what they're told to do is write the code, pass the test, not this other stuff. That really matters to customers. Come on, cuss that word. Ugh.
And most big companies are structured in such a way that they can get away with that. This is the kind of programmer or coworker that you've seen that grumbles or complains when a bug report comes in and whose preferred solution is, I can't reproduce that, so it's not a real problem. Now, they're bad programmers, and they should feel bad.
No, they're not. That's standard. Hey, look, man, they want to get $120K a year to go to their React boot camp, and they want a reproducible bug. Look like they can't reproduce the bug. That's their job is to write the code to pass the tests, not to delve into whether a bug was reproducible or whether the steps worked or whether I can make this thing happen, or I look deeper into it. Maybe there's some other issue going on. No. We're going to get AI. We're going to replace developers any day now.
And if your natural reaction to a bug report coming in is, I don't want to have to reproduce that, then you're a bad programmer and you should feel bad too. Bug reports are an opportunity to learn what went wrong and to learn how it could have been better and to improve. But most programmers are that kind of bad programmer. Most programmers and managers operate on I did my part, the rest of it's someone else's problem basis.
I mean, that's where, okay, that's the standard. That's been the current thing that's been going on in the industry, and we can get away with that in this zero interest rate policy environment where money was basically free. You could do that. You get away with that stuff. Not my job. Hey, I didn't have nothing to do with that. That's somebody else's department. That was and then people thought that was normal. They thought they could just get away with that. But so that's gone. That's not coming back. That's definitely gone for at least 10 years. But there's this other thing though, where it's like actually responding to the customers and finding your niche and finding a set of customers and serving them and making it profitable for them, for you to do whatever it is, the thing that they want. Oh, that's not going away.
Exactly the same way that the AIs operate. Someone asks an AI to write code, it spits something out, and that's the end of its involvement. Once that conversation is over, it's done. If later somebody brings the AI a bug in that code to look at, it will be treated as an entirely new issue and all the context would have been lost. It can reread through the previous conversation, but that's not the same thing. So if you want to be better than AIs can be, you have to avoid that mindset. There's a blind spot here that most people, even a lot of good developers, have about our work. Unlike the way that AIs generate code, the way that schools teach and test computer science students, and especially the way that programming interviews screen candidates, the true nature of the work of programming is this: the work does not just stop. In fact, most programming work is not done for years, if not decades after.
It's only abandoned, sir. I thought you would know this joke by now. This is a standard joke. Software's never finished. What? No, there's no finishing. No, we keep going forever. It goes on forever. And the forever part lasts way longer. The forever part, this part, the long tail, was way longer than this first little burst. And you're left with a lot of decisions. Oh, bullshit. In this, so maybe you shouldn't rush through this phase so much. You may do little pieces, then you get a big chunk. Then now we have something we can live inside of. Now we're trying to get that shifted out there, break things and make things and move fast. Or move fast, break things. Okay, there is a phase for that, but like you can't live there. It's very uncomfortable.
After the first release. Even after every member of the original team has long left the project, the work of maintaining that code can continue, maybe for as long as human generation or more.
Photoshop.
This is the misunderstanding I mentioned in the introduction. People, even a lot of developers, tend to talk about whether or not an AI can replace a programmer in terms of whether or not the AI can perform some discrete tasks that the programmer does on a daily basis. But that's
right. So once you know what once you get to understand what these tasks are, letting the AI do them is fucking awesome. But you still got to read the damn code. You got to know what it is and how this interfaces with your billion, trillion, quadrillion context, the human context of all the stuff that you've lived through to bring you to this position where you're trying to solve people's problems for money with computers.
It's not the job, at least not if you're doing it right. A lot of developers, a lot of teams get this really wrong, though.
Yeah.
But
if you don't have that thing back, 3 years ago, if you didn't have the Asperger, autist level coding knowledge of all the different data structures and algorithms memorized so you can just blurt them up at any point, that was a factor. It's not a factor anymore. You just have to know what those things are. You do have to go through them at least once and maybe write them once and see if you can write a thing. Yes, it's useful exercise. But once you know how to do that, just ask the thing to do it for you. And if you can read it, which is way easier than writing this stuff from spurging it from scratch, if it makes sense for the thing, yeah, then you do it. Otherwise, you have to be the guy that says no, because the damn AI is never going to say no. It's just programmed like, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
programming is done such that each code change is treated independently of all other code changes. This is the way that an AI would do the work, and it creates a ton of bugs. It's easy to spot if you look from the outside. It's what causes a bug fix or a patch or a new release to have new bugs in it that didn't exist in previous releases. Now, I'm not talking about a new added feature that contains bugs. I'm talking about a thing that used to work, but it doesn't anymore. When done correctly, outside of new features, the number of new bugs in each release should go down dramatically. Because what we can do if we try is understand that a bug we're working on now was caused by, or at least contributed to, some trade-off we had in mind when we made the decision some months ago. And when we not only fix that bug, we can learn to recognize similar trade-offs when they come up again so we can avoid similar problems recurring in the future.
Yes.
We actively look for other places that mistake was made, and we clean them up before they can start causing problems. In addition, good experience.
Only humans can do that kind of shit. Because code is full of bugs. You write one line, it has bugs. So which bug do you work on? Which thing do you look at? Which one do you mess with? What part needs to be focused on? How would you know? AI doesn't know. We don't know. The fucking customer would tell us. You have 20 people yell at you saying this thing over here is a problem. You work on that. Like, how's a triage situation? Because these systems are so huge that you have to do a triage. You have to focus in on one thing at a time. And you have to make a system from the start that's built to be set up that way. So you can work on one thing at a time, modify one thing, and change one thing at a time, and not change one thing over here. I have to change all the things. Come on.
Experienced developers know to consider the future maintenance effort when considering any change.
Yeah. But it's not future maintenance, but you have to design it from the beginning that way. Yes. Alan Kay's style. The messaging, object-oriented, boop, back to object-oriented programming. It's in my free programmer course that I'll leave a link to. You have to do it that way, because if you keep doing the procedural C++, static variable access, static method access style, you've lost the script completely. So you're back in the same hole that we were in the 70s and 80s. And people wonder why these things aren't. It's like this stuff isn't discussed. It's like Alan Kay's an anathema. Everyone loves C++ Bootstrap because he's so. I don't understand why people like that guy. If you actually listen to some of his lectures and early stuff about AT&T, which I have gone into in my course, dude, if it wasn't for AT&T about to die and him having a C++ language and his language is about to die, he's like, let's start jamming features in there even though they don't mean anything. People are so confused. We'll have market for years because it was AT&T. It's like, who even cares about that? By the time it was a real big deal, it's like AT&T is coming out. They were the ones that made Unix. Well, they must know everything. It's like, no, they don't.
Often, I've had to push back on changes that seemed simple to implement because I knew that the cumulative scar tissue of adding many, many little one-off features release after release makes for a very fragile system.
But the fucking sales guys love it. And the customers love it too because they see the thing on the new feature. There's a new feature? And it doesn't cost me anything extra? Yeah, we get that for you. Roll features out all the time. It's like, I get free features for the same price, but even though each feature is... Why is my app slowed down? Why am I crashing every 3 minutes? Why is it when I do this, the old thing I used to do, it doesn't work anymore? We got new features.
Human can learn that, but it doesn't fit into a Stack Overflow answer, a Reddit post, or a LeetCode riddle. So the AIs don't have a clue about it. And to the extent that it's discussed in blog posts or videos like this, it's too abstract for an AI to actually act upon.
Yeah.
There's also an additional complication that the AI is particularly bad at dealing with, which is when the environment around our code is changed outside our control and we have to deal with it. It's very common these days for new security issues to be found or for new bugs to be introduced into the operating.
That's constantly. Something outside of our control somewhere else changes, and now our stuff breaks. Well, and that's the whole thing that Alan Kay was talking about, this whole messaging thing. Stuff should not break so easily. And that's why we haven't seen the revolution yet. We haven't seen the full software revolution that Alan Kay was referring to. Because of this, how these things are put together, how they are so fragile. And because we wanted to go fast and get things up there and put the feature factory out. Not the engineering side. For building and bridges, we got to put structure in these so they don't fucking fall over the minute someone puts something different on there than it was designed for.
Operating systems or libraries or browsers that our code runs on top of. When the same code as last time suddenly starts behaving differently than last time on the same set of circumstances, it must be because something else changed. But often we don't even know what. The first step when that happens the last few years for most programmers is to type the problem they're having into Google or Stack Overflow, and hey, I've done it too. But there are times when there just aren't any answers, or worse, there are answers, but they're all out of date and they're no longer relevant and they just waste your time.
Right. So where are you supposed to find this stuff? You got the Stack Overflow, you got the documentation, which is terrible usually. These companies don't spend any. We'll just hire a guy like $6 an hour to write the docs. No, the developers should be writing the docs. Like the best docs are written by the developers who've written docs before that know how to Write stuff for developers. No, we got a technical writer in here. They'll take over. It's like garbage. So then you're like, oh shit, well, what can I go next? You can go Stack Overflow, or you go to the message forums, and you're just asking people who are also confused or dicks. Don't ask that question. That's a stupid question. I ask 22 times a day. Go look at the fact. So you're looking at facts. You're dealing with assholes. This is just not a great experience.
Most programmers these days know that sinking feeling of realizing they have a new problem that they can't copy-paste their way out of.
Correct.
Those are the cases that AI can't help with because the solutions don't yet exist, so they can't be found in the training data.
Exactly.
But I promise it is possible to learn and fix those bugs. At the risk of doing that back in my day.
But that's the thing. That's the job. That's the dirty, dirty job. That's the dirty down in the ditch, getting muddy, messing with your brain, going on wild dead end witch hunts if I can find this information. It's nuts. The field is nuts. That's why these AIs are very helpful for this type of crap, but they're not going to take over this stuff. How could they? And if they did, we won't, humans may go extinct, that kind of stuff. So we're not going to see that either. Come on.
I had been getting paid to program for 10 years before there even was a Google. We did it without Google or Stack Overflow or AI back then. And it's still possible, at least when it's needed. And you learn.
But we're also handling a lot simpler stuff, a lot less APIs, a lot less software, a lot less languages. It was a lot slower. The cadence was slow. We had time to react. The documentation was better because that's all you had. So people so the companies realized, like, if you want people to use your shit, you better have some solid documentation. And they took time and took care. A lot of times, and they were careful with it. But as soon as the pace started to really ramp up with the internet and everything being deployed all by software, and they could just change anything at will and at any time without notice and not explain it, and just could pump stuff out as quickly as possible, and people got attracted to the feature factories. Like, there would be these feature fights between these companies, and that's where we are now. So welcome to it. Like, the AI is a breath of fresh air, really, but it's going to take over all that stuff.
Learn to fix
that stuff's all going to be still going on. It's all there still, but it's not the primary source now. It's the secondary, third, tertiary.
Those bugs by putting in the work of fixing them, and then by looking back on how that bug came about and how you might have prevented it. If you've got a job right now, you can start by looking around at your job for those bugs that don't have easy answers and volunteering to work on them. Get to know the QA and the operations folks at work, learn what they're seeing that most of your team is ignoring. That might work depending on where you are, although a lot of corporate structures make that difficult. In general, the smaller your company and the smaller your team, the easier it will be for you to be able to work on these kinds of problems. I've spent a lot of time at startups, and they have lots of opportunities to understand the full product and to work on that kind of thing.
That's why I love the startups so much, because they don't have all these corporate layers of bullshit, which, I mean, it's just more fun. It's more risky. I probably left millions of dollars on the table by messing with these startups, but it was a hell of a lot more fun. I can look back and look at my life and go, God damn, I just went off on, I was doing my thing. I was going into after what I thought was awesome. And some people don't realize that's kind of what life's about. And other people are like, I just want to make money. I want to go to my React boot camp and have my 120K years job for, turns out, 3 years, 5 years max.
People tend to care more also because if the product fails, we're all out of a job. But startups have a work-life balance and stress issues, though, so it's not a panacea.
Yeah, but so there you go. So if you're gonna go to startup, that better be your thing you want to do. That's the cool thing about startups, is that you can find a thing that you want to do with people that are totally into it, which makes life. That's worth 50 grand a year, maybe 100 grand a year, maybe 200 grand a year. Even if it doesn't pay off, just the experience of going through that and having hands-on talking to the customers, making stuff happen, trying to figure stuff out. Super fun.
But it is possible to take on that responsibility even in many large organizations if you're willing to do the work and put up with crap from some people around you. Another quick example. This is a photo of a bunch of empty delivery bags with barcodes on them from my time at Amazon. Each one of those represents an actual product that I bought myself with my own money and then acted as my own delivery person and delivered to myself as the customer using the system my team was building at the time. I wasn't required to do that. In fact, several people, including my managers, got upset at me about it. Although since I was spending my own money, the only way they could have stopped me would have been firing me. Because I went outside my part of the organization and I worked directly with the folks at the local distribution center.
So when I got involved with software, this was the kind of guys that we were around. These are the people. So a lot of stuff that we're using and took for granted, just how things are. It's these kind of guys. It's these kind of guys who will take the role of the customer. They will lower themselves. They will cut their fucking ego off, lower themselves, stoop themselves so low as to be a customer of their own product. I know. And his managers gave him kisses. I said, what do you do that for? Don't do that. You're making us look bad. Fuck the customer, by the way. They're going to buy from us anyway because we're Amazon.
Center to set up my accounts and my permissions to be able to do that. And I got to know a bunch of those folks in the process. They were thrilled to have someone from development that actually cared about their perspective for once.
Yeah,
and I learned a ton from working directly with them.
It's
so I
super
couldn't
fun,
discover
by the way. Super fun. That's why these corporate environments are cooked, right? And if you're involved with one, I get it. You got to do your times in the pits. I get it. But once you have the ability to get out and you can have the skill level to do a startup and still the wherewithal, not burnt out from the corporate crap. It is fun to talk to customers and discover their problems and delivers things that make their lives better. Super fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm just that kind of person. But if you're just like, I want to just fuck bitches and drink tequila and lounge around by the beach and have a vacation 24/7, well, maybe you're probably not going to be interested in that. It's not going to give you the juice. So maybe there's just different types of people in the world. Some people are like, hey, kind of dig solving problems for other people, and other people are like, I just want to collect a paycheck. But I get it. I understand.
Otherwise, it made me a much better programmer, and it made our system much more reliable. I don't know if anyone else at Amazon in development who spent their own money to test a product that they were developing, but it was definitely worth it to me.
See, this is the original. This is the early Amazon still coming through. That the flavor that made that company great, and why they're so open for disruption now, because it's not that anymore. And these are the kinds of people, and this is the kind of thought process of lowering yourself to be as a customer, and then for your own product to see what their experience is like, and improving it where you can, how you can, to make it so it's not a pain in the dick for them. That's how you make money in this America. That's how in the world in general. Serving people the way they kind of want to be served and not making it difficult for them. What? This is not hard. It's just the AI is never going to do this, right? It's never going to suggest to you to go out to dog food your own package. It's never going to tell you that. But that's what made it happen. He probably took his work himself, just doing that stuff right there was probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
So you probably can find a way if you try hard enough. But if you can't get access or time or permission to work on those problems, or just don't want to wait, then your best bet is to build your own project.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do that these days is to build what's called a software as a service or SaaS project. Yeah. The startup costs are tiny. It's mainly just your time and labor. The only potential risks are legal, and in my personal experience, those have been quite small. Although it might not be true for you. It depends on too much on your local laws and your employment.
Just finding customers that will pay you money for your product. Yeah. I mean, don't steal. Don't steal and don't scam. Give them a real thing that they want. Just niche down into the niche maybe that you're interested in. Maybe that's usually the best stuff. Is something you're deeply interested in that you don't see someone servicing. Like there's so much stuff. Like if you just get interested in stuff, there's gonna be all these areas where you're like, oh, I could fix something. I could do that a little bit better, or I could do something like that. But without being interested in the world, wanting to fuck bitches and drink tequila and be on the sun play at the beach, then you're probably not gonna be interested. So why are you even in this business? You're not gonna last anyway. Get out. Don't do something different. Just go to the beach. Go become a beach ski instructor, wave instructor, surf instructor. Don't do that. You'll have way more fun. Don't try and get a bunch of money and let them go do it. It's like, no, just go do that thing. Don't try and do software development. You're just gonna annoy yourself and make everyone's lives miserable. Let's keep going.
Contract if you've got one. And the only thing I can advise about all that kind of stuff is just talk to a lawyer and be an accountant too. I know that stinks, but these days it might be a good idea for everyone to know a lawyer.
I will get customers first. Get money coming in first. Then you can prepay the lawyer with the customers. And don't do something scammy. Come on, that's all everybody does in the United States. Don't do scams.
Like I said in my starting a side project video, running your own thing, as long as people are using it so you can learn from their bug reports and feedback, is the best way to learn to be a better programmer. I encourage every single programmer to do that. But it's even more important than that these days if you want to be in this profession long term. Being a better programmer is useful and important, and I want all of you to get better because the better you all get, the fewer bugs the rest of us will have to deal with. But
True.
These days, as the AIs get better and better, being a programmer who has experience specifically in the kinds of coding skills that the current type of large language model AIs aren't good at and cannot be good at is a far more valuable, if not irreplaceable, skill.
Yeah.
So I've got some more videos in the works about starting and building your own software as a service project, and now that I've wrapped up my involvement.
Yeah, he's got one kind of plan. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stuff these things can't do. It is impressive because it's like those chess playing robots, chess playing software that we had in the 70s or 80s. Like, wow, they can do chess. This must be a super intelligence. Like, no, it's just statistical modeling. Heuristics. Same as today. Leave me in there. These machines are going to be better. He was like, they will never be. And if it is, we're in big trouble. I don't think the governments would ever let us. They would never let that happen. And if it did, humans would, very smart humans. Humans are way smarter than that whatever thing they come up with. We will destroy it. You better believe that, or it'll be destroyed. So either one's fine. But usually the humans are going to survive these. more than a machine that humans made. Okay. All right. Give me a like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.